All right, let's dive right in. You know that classic pirate move from the movies? Flying a false flag to sneak up on an unsuspecting ship? Well, have you ever stopped to wonder if that's actually legal in modern warfare? The answer is going to surprise you. Today, we're going to decode a fascinating rule of naval combat that feels like it's straight out of a pirate movie, but trust me, it has very real consequences on the high seas today.
I mean, you've seen it 100 times, right? Picture this, a ship on the horizon, flying the flag of a friendly nation. It gets closer, closer, lulling the other crew into a false sense of security. And then, at the very last second, bam! Down comes the friendly flag, up goes the Jolly Roger, and the cannons fire. It's the classic trick. But is that just for the movies, or is this kind of deception still considered fair play in today's world of high-tech naval battles?
Okay, so to really get a handle on the modern rule, we've got to go back to the beginning. Let's start by breaking down the classic maneuver itself, what we can call the pirate's gambit. The strategy is, brilliant in its simplicity. First, you fly a friendly or even a neutral flag. Why? To get close without setting off any alarm bells. Then, once you're right where you want to be, nice and in range, you drop the act. Down comes the false flag, up goes your real one, the classic Jolly Roger, right? And then you attack. It's all about that element of surprise. So the big question remains, in a world with actual laws of war, is this kind of thing still on the table?
And this is where it gets really interesting. Believe it or not, the answer is yes. It is still allowed in modern naval warfare. But, and this is a huge, huge but, it comes with one absolutely critical, non-negotiable condition that changes the entire game.
All right, so let's move away from pirate stories and into the official rulebook, because this isn't just some old, unspoken gentleman's agreement on the high seas. Nope, it is a formally written down, codified law.
And here it is, straight from the source. This is from the U.S. Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard manual, and it's pretty darn clear. It says, naval surface and subsurface forces may fly enemy colors and display enemy markings to deceive the enemy. Okay, so that's part one. Deception is allowed. But then comes the really important part. Warships must, however, display their true colors prior to an actual armed engagement. See? That's the critical bit right there.
This kind of legal trickery actually has a name. It's called a ruse of war. Basically, it's an act of deception that's meant to mislead your adversary, but, and this is key, it doesn't violate the laws of war. Think of it this way, it's clever strategy, not a war crime.
So this brings us to the absolute heart of the matter. We're talking about a bright, uncrossable line in the sand that separates a legal trick from an illegal act of war. And what it all boils down to is one single moment. Seriously, the entire legality of this whole maneuver hinges on timing. It's about the exact moment that an armed engagement officially kicks off.
So let's break this down. On the one hand, you've got what's permitted. You can absolutely approach the enemy under false colors. You can even use their markings to maneuver yourself into the perfect position. That's all fair game. But then, look at the other side, the forbidden actions. You absolutely cannot fire that first shot while flying false colors. You can't launch an attack while you're still hiding who you really are. So, you can lie right up until the very last second before you pull the trigger, but you cannot be lying as you pull it.
Okay, so here's the legal playbook, step by step. Step 1, assume an enemy identity. Go for it. Step 2, approach your target. Still good. Step 3, this is the big one, reveal your true colors. And only then can you move to step 4, commence the engagement. That moment, right between step 3 and step 4, that's the legal firewall. You can't cross it.
So you might be thinking, why? Why does this rule even exist? It seems a little strange, right? Well, what's the bigger idea here? It's really all about maintaining a certain code of conduct, even in the middle of the absolute chaos of war.
This whole rule is designed to prevent something called perfidy. Now remember, a ruse of war is just a clever trick, but perfidy, that's something else entirely. That's when you trick the enemy by abusing the protections of the laws of war themselves. You're betraying the fundamental trust that makes things like surrender or medical aid even possible. Like pretending to surrender just to ambush the enemy when they get close, that's perfidy. It's not just a trick. It's seen as a deeply dishonorable betrayal.
And really, that's the main takeaway here. The law of naval warfare draws a very clear line in the sand. On one side, you have clever strategy, the legal ruse, and on the other, you have dishonorable betrayal, perfidy, that just tears down the entire framework of the laws of war. By forcing a ship to show its true colors right before opening fire, the law is basically preserving one last, tiny moment of, well, battlefield honor.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating question for the world we live in now, right? This rule was written for wooden ships with actual physical flags. So what does it even mean to show your true colors in an age of unmanned drones, cyber attacks, and satellite warfare? How does this centuries-old principle of honor even apply to the invisible battlefields of the future? Now that is something to think about.